Hello guys, welcome back to a new part of Android tutorial. In today's episode, we are going to learn about services in Android. In Android, the components are classified into two categories, activities and services. Activities are those components which have a GUI, while the services does not have GUI. That means a service is always running in the background. In this episode, I will demonstrate how to create a simple Android service with a complete working example. In Android, there are two types of services, starter service and bound service. A starter service is nothing but which is always running in the background indefinitely. That means if an activity starts a starter service, after finishing the work on that service, again that service is still running in the background. But a bound service is always bounded to an activity. So whenever that activity finishes the work or the service finishes the work, it will destroy automatically. So in this episode, I'm going to demonstrate how to create a starter service in Android. So open up the Eclipse IDE. Here I'm going to create a new project. Start a new project. It's an Android application project. I name it as service service demo. Change the package name. Click next. Again click next and click next. Create a blank activity. Click next and finally click finish. Okay. Now the project is created on the IDE. Here is the main activity. For starting and stopping a service, here I am going to add two buttons for starting and stopping the service. Okay, go to the XML version of this activity. Here is the button 1 and here is the button 2. Change the text of the button as start service and change the text of the second button as stop service. Okay, so here I'm going to provide an on-click method, Android on-click. I name it as start method, and for the second button, create another method, Android on-click. I name it as stop method. Okay, here is the start button and here is the stop service button. Okay, now here I'm going to create a service. So for creating service, on the package name right click and create a new Java class. You can create a starter service in two ways. You can extend the service class and also you can extend the indent service class. So here I'm going to create a new class. I name it as my service and click finish. Here we got the new class. Here I'm going to create a service using the extends service class. So extends service. Of course, for like activity for services, there are some override some methods, some lifecycle methods. You need to implement some of the lifecycle methods in this class. So whenever whenever a service is firstly created, there is a method called onCreate method is executed. On the onCreate method, you can place all the resources you can start all the resources for that service. And after completing the onCreate method, there is another method called onStart command method. In onStart command method, all the service actions are actually take place. So here I'm going to add the unimplement method. Here it implement an onbind method. Actually this method is for bound service. Now here I'm going to demonstrate a starter service. So we need to implement the other methods. on create. First one is the on create method, and second one is on start command method. Okay, and for stopping the service there is another method called on destroy method. Okay, these are the lifecycle methods of a service: on create, on start command, and on destroy. So whenever a service is created, the on create method is called, and here we initialize all the resources for the service, and after completing the on create method, it call the on start command method. All these was the work of the services are actually doing on this method, and whenever we stop the service, we call the on destroy method. Okay, so now here I'm going to start a service here. So whenever we start the service, this method will automatically invoke on first. So here I place a toast dot make text, provide a context, provide text, and here provide some text here. Service is started. Service is created. Okay, and provide a duration for the toast dot length long, make it as long, and finally make the toast visible. Okay, now after completing the on create method, it invoke the on start command method. Here also I place a toast, and here actually the service is started. Service is started. Okay, so on the on destroy method, service is actually stopped. Service is stopped here. Okay, now we done all the coding on the service class. So now we have to register this service on the Android manifest file. So go to the Android manifest file, Android manifest.xml file, go to the XML version. In the application tag, you need to insert an additional tag called the service tag. Service. First, you need to provide the class name for the service. So here is Android name. Here you need to provide the class name for the service. Here the class name of service is my service. So here it is, my service. Okay, and here I'm going to add one more tag, Android exported equal to false. I make the exported is false because here I need to, this service is only available for this application. That means you can prevent other application from using this service by make the exported as false. Okay, I save it. Now we have to start the service. So go to the main activity. Here you need to create two methods for start the service and stop the service. So here I'm going to create a method called public void start method. Also create another method for stop the service. So public void stop method. You need to provide an argument of view class here. So view v. Here also you need to provide that argument. You need to import the view class, import the packages for the view class. Okay, I save it. Now whenever the user click the button, the service has to be started. So on the start method, that means on the main activity, on the start method, you have to start the service. Like activity, you can also start a service using an indent object. So here I am going to create an indent object. Indent I is equal to new indent, provide a context. Now you have to specify the class name for the service. So here the class name is my service. So my service dot class. Just create an indent object for starting the service. You need to import the indent here. Okay. Now you can start the service using a method called a start service method. So here I call that method start service and pass that indent object. Okay. Now we just start the service. Okay, we can check it out now. So I'm going to run the project. Run as Android application. Open up the emulator. Okay, now the project is launched. Here the start service button and stop service button. Now I'm going to start the service. So click the start button. So here the service is created and now service is started. That means now the service in background. Okay, now you can stop the service in two ways. So after completing the service, a starter service can stop in two ways. After completing the service, you can stop the service itself, stop it by calling a method called a stop self method. So here I'm going to stop the service using stop self method. So on the on start command method, here I'm going to stop the service. You calling the method called the stop self service. There is a method called the stop self. Okay, this is one method. This is one way to stop the started service. So we can check it out now. Run as Android application. Okay, now the project is launched again. I start the service. Service is created. Now service is started, and here I'm going to stop the service. Service is stopped. That means whenever the service call this method stop self, it call the on destroy method. One more thing you need to note here. So now I start the service. Before explain, I'm going to comment the stop, comment this statement. I just comment the stop self method and run the project again. Okay, the project is again launched. Okay, one more thing you need to notice here. So I start the service. Now the service is created and now the service is started. Okay, now the service is in background. So again I am going to start the service. Notice that now the service is created and it is now running. And again I start the service. Now you can see that service is started. That means whenever a service is invoked for the first time, it will call the onCreate method. That means in the lifecycle of a service, the onCreate method invoked only once. After the service is created, then if you are calling the service again, it directly start this onStart command method and it does not run the onCreate method again. Okay. Now you can stop the service using another method called the stop service method. So here I'm going to implement the code for stop service method. So whenever user click the button, stop button, this method will invoke, and here I'm going to stop the service using the indent object. So I just copy this code and paste it here, and by using that indent object I'm going to stop the service using a method called the stop service method. Okay, and pass the indent object, save it, and again I'm going to run the project. Okay, again the project is launched. I start the service. Service is created. Again service is started. Okay, now I'm going to stop the service using that stop service method. So I click the button stop service. Now the service is stopped. Okay, now you can send a data to the service using this indent object. Here I'm going to pass a data to the service using this indent object. So here I'm going to attach some data to the indent object. Before call the service, I dot put, there is a method called put extra string name, some values. Okay, I provide a name for the string. Here I am name it as message and pass a value. Here I pass a message called this is my message. This is my message, and I attach that message into the indent object, and only after attach that data I call the service using start service method. So on the service I'm going to catch the data. So on the on start command I'm going to catch that data. Shall I create a string message? Okay, message equal to there is an argument of indent object, it is called indent. So indent dot, there is a method called get string extra. Use that method and provide that identifier, that means that name identifier. I give it as name, sorry, message, and display that message here. Message is equal to message equal to message. Okay, now we can check it out. So run the project again, run as Android application. Now the project is launched again. I start the service. Service is created and service is started. There is a message on the service. So message is equal to this is my message. That means now the sender message is got on the service. Okay, now I stop the service. So now the service is stopped. Okay, guys, this is how we create a service using extend service class. Now I am going to create a service using indent service method. So there is some disadvantage of using this service extend service method. So whenever you create a service using extend service method, that service will use the same thread of your application. So if that service contains some heavy data or heavy work such as downloading a large file or uploading a large file, that may definitely cause some lagging in your GUI of that activity. That means it may cause some not responding problem for your activity because the service using the same thread of your application is a major problem. So whenever you extend service, make sure that you run the service in separate threads. Here I am just not run the service in separate thread. Here the service using the same thread used by the main activity or the main application. Okay, so now I am going to create another service here. So create a new class and name it as second service and click finish. Here I am going to create that service using another class called indent service. Indent service. Okay, now I need to create some unimplemented method. So there is an additional implemented method called on handle intent. and you need to provide a constructor with a string argument. Here is a constructor. Okay, now this is the advantage of using indent service, is that it uses a separate work thread for executing that service. That means by using the indent service method, you can free the service or free the thread of your application from running that service. That means you can avoid the problems of lagging or not responding your activity by the service. So it is very useful, or it is very effective to use the indent service method, indent service, instead of the service method, service class. So there is an additional method called onHandle indent method. So there is, you can implement all other method called onCreate and onStart command. Okay, now another important concepts using indent service is, there is no need to stop the service. That means whenever the service is finished, that means whenever all this work on the service is finished, the system will automatically stop the service. That means there is no need to call any separate method for the stopping service. So here I am going to create some message on the on create and on start command. So I just copy it from here. Here is the on create method. Service is created, and here is the on start command. That means service is started here. Service is started here. Service is started. Okay, here after completing the onStart command, the system will deliver all the indent object to the onHandle indent method. Okay, so here I am going to place a log message, log.t, provide a tag here, service test, provide a tag here called the service test, and provide a message from the onHandle indent method. Okay, so now I have to register this service onto the manifest file. So go to the manifest file, create a second service, and here the class name is second service. Second service. Sorry, I just forgot to place that on the default. It is created on the default package. I have to place it into the main package. Just paste it into the main package and delete it from here. Okay, now I am going to start the second service. So go to the main activity.java file. One more method you need to implement on the second service. You need to implement the onDestroy method. You'll create that onDestroy method. OnDestroy. Also display a message there using toast. Okay, here the service is destroyed. Service is stopped. Service stopped here. Okay, now I am going to start the service. So instead of using the my service.class, here I am going to using the second service. second service dot class. There is no need to stop the second service because it uses the indent service class for creating the service. That means the system will automatically destroy that service after finishing the work. Okay, now I am going to run the project on as Android application. Okay, now the project is launched. I'm going to start the service. There is some error on the project. We have to check it out. There is some errors are present. So on the second service, we forgot something. Okay, you need a constructor. Here is a constructor is present. Actually, it has an argument. I delete that argument, and here I am going to give a name. This is the name for the worker thread. So I name it as my service. Okay, but this is the problem. I save it. Now I'm going to run it. Run as Android application. Okay, now the service is launched again. So before running the service, I have to clear the logcat window. So go to the logcat and clear it. Okay, now the logcat window is cleared, and now I'm going to start the service. Okay, service is created and service is started, and you can see that service is stopped. That means there is no need to call any separate stop method or stop self method for destroying a service if it is created using the indent service method, indent service class. Also on the logcat you can see that service test, that is the tag we provide, and here is the message from the on handle indent method. Guys, this is how we create a starter service in Android. Actually there are two ways to create a starter service. You can use the service class for creating a service. Also you can use an indent service class for creating a service. Okay, guys, thank you for watching. In the next part of this tutorial I'm going to demonstrate how to create and bind a bind service in Android. Thank you for watching. See you in the next part of this tutorial.